All right, everyone. Welcome to episode 3 of Untitled Common Sense. I'm Derek, your host for these intrepid looks of common sense, touching upon real world issues that we face today. Just trying to see if we can think about it as a common man would and just see if what we're seeing is what we're seeing. Because there's a lot of reality is not what it used to be. And we're seeing that quite a bit. So for today's episode, we're talking about the need for a savior or leader. And this is something I've been kind of thinking back in the background for a while now. Is I've been seeing as I'm watching TV and reading things, and it transfers everything. You can look at it in politics, sports. You can look at it in entertainment. You can look at it in books. Like there's always this current, this need for a leader. You know, anything that's of importance needs a leader, somebody who's going to be the focal point of that, who's going to represent that idea and be the one to, off their strength of their will, push it forward. And it's really prevalent in our culture, which is weird. Well, it's not weird. On the one hand, it's weird because we're a very individualistic culture. So there is that need to like pull yourself up by your bootstraps, manifest destiny. I set my mind to it. I'm going to do it. You get that idea here in America and in the West largely. But when you peel that back, it's always, I'm always amazed about how quickly that mentality will subvert itself for the need of a leader, that charismatic figure, that person of principle and moral standing and willpower that can just cut through the BS and get to where you got to go. And it's interesting because for a culture that prides itself on, being every individual being the center of their own universe, we have this intrinsic need to find somebody bigger and better that we can just, get behind, who will lead us to the promised land, so to speak. And I find it to be something that is equal points fascinating and also a little bit disconcerting. And I'll unpack it in just a second. I find it disconcerting because it shows kind of a subconscious point of view that we're agreeing that we as individuals aren't enough, you know? And what do I mean by that? I mean by because we are always looking for some other figure, we're always looking for that leader. We're kind of saying to ourselves, we can't enact change until there's somebody at the front of this to guide us. Our judgment about how to proceed with this can't happen. We need one focal leader who can just condense everything we're feeling and point the way. And on the surface, you may like, I disagree with that. I'm a natural born leader. I'm a this, but like, think about it. Let's look at many examples in our society where you see this notion of we need a leader. We need somebody to get behind. The most notable thing that comes to mind, Trump. MAGA is nothing without Trump. I think it's safe to call it that this is a quote unquote cult of personality. Without Trump, MAGA could not exist. There's no way any of these other right wing pundits and thought leaders or whatever could ever have made MAGA what it is. You need somebody like Trump. MAGA literally is the reflection of Trump's ethos. It's crass. It's like a bull in a china shop. It cracks skulls and takes names. It doesn't mince words. It just wants to do what it wants. It just consumes. It's garish. It's very 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 out there. And all these things reflect in Trump. I mean, he's about appearances. He's about having the crowd, the groundswell. He likes saying things. He doesn't want to be censored. He doesn't want to be held back. It very much is a representation of him. But what's interesting about MAGA is the reason MAGA works is because Trump has embodied the salvation of this group of people. People saw Trump and like, that's the guy who's going to get us out of this swamp. That's the guy who is going to get us out of these many decades of societal decay. He's the guy that's going to give the working man a fair shake. He's the guy that's going to, cut all the BS in Washington and make sure that, we all get our piece of the pie. But what's funny is that, like, this movement, which, you got to give them props. They have been able to coalesce a great amount of power. And it's precisely because they love Trump so much that you've got all the Republicans and everybody scared. They don't see themselves as power. They only see Trump as the focal point, as the representation of their power. If Trump were to go now, MAGA would flit into a dust, because their mindset isn't that, oh, we are a movement, we have the power. It's, no, we are the power and support of Donald Trump. And as long as he's at the forefront, we can get our agenda done, or he can do the things for us. But at no point do you see them saying, like, well, do we really need Trump? Why can't we be the ones to point ourselves into our own destiny? Like, think about it. All these disenfranchised groups from lower class neighborhoods, even upper class, like people, whoever you are, if you identify with Trump, and apparently 1/3 of the United States allegedly follows this and is behind him, do you see the power in that? Like, yeah, he's kind of the focal point for it, but the real power is in the people. And so it makes you wonder, like, if you always felt like this and you always had this zeal and this want for change, what stopped you before? Why did you feel so hamstrung or so despondent or unable to do it? And that goes into not just with MAGA, but with a lot of organizations altogether. Let's take religion. A lot of, I'm Christian by birth, Catholic, and I think this goes for most religions, certainly the Abrahamic religions. The need for a God, for someone to guide you through this life spiritually and morally. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it does speak, I feel, to a fundamental lack of confidence in one's ability to assess that correctly. Now, I'm not saying that it's not hard out here and that we encounter situations every day where, it's just hard to know where you should stand, why you should stand. And at its best, religion does give you a good guideline about how you should adjudicate yourself as you move through life. And that's great. But increasingly with religion, we see that it is very susceptible to cults or personality. Evangelical Christianity is a great example. They're all galvanized by whatever pastor or reverend of that church who kind of directs their focus and their fervor and their energy a certain way. And his viewpoint of how things are mirror your viewpoint and things like that. And you get these super mega churches where, like, it's not so much about Jesus Christ and his teachings, but it's about Jesus Christ's teachings filtered through the lens of this one figure, this massive, larger than life, charismatic preacher who, for whatever reason, has the true insight into what the divine is thinking, is the only one that can decode what's going on out here in the world and provide you with the real facts about how to navigate in this society, because there's dangers everywhere. But I know because God talks to me. And you see this. Instead of having a personal relationship with God, it's like you're talking to God's lawyer. And he's telling you, oh, no. You can't say that. You can't do that. But you can do this. You can do that. And, that I hope that kind of illustrates my point, is that, like, even religion to this degree is being co-opted by a leader. Like, your congregation is not powerful unless that leader's there to, like, focus that. And while, yes, I can admit having a leader to focus things is good. They could provide a clarity and, and not let you get lost in the sauce. It's amazing, again, that none of the parishioners really feel that they themselves have the capacity to morally guide themselves and their family. they have to attend church and they have to give to this, and only by giving their money can they receive the blessings, because they themselves are too flawed to really have the auspice to navigate this treacherous, cavalcade we call life, and all that, all the pitfalls therein. And again, one has to wonder, why do we fundamentally limit ourselves this way? Let's go to the democratic side of things. If you're like me, you've been disappointed by the Democratic lawmakers in Washington. They have completely they're cowardly. They're feckless. They have no teeth. They're not even trying to fight. Chuck Schumer was like, we can't shut down government. They win. They're still winning. I don't know what you achieved. Like, all their resistance just seemed half-hearted. And yet, the one thing I keep hearing Democrats say, and I'm guilty of this, is waiting for that aha moment where they're like, "Oh shit, I'm in charge. I should lead," and they're not. And we keep sitting back thinking, when are you going to do something? When are you going to do something? When are you going to do something? And there's no doing anything. Nothing's happening. And we look at our leaders like, bro, you have all these opportunities and you're dropping the ball, or you're not meeting the moment. And it certainly is frustrating. But again, it also exposes that fundamental premise that we, the people, do not feel that we have the power. Which is, and when you think about it, just think about that. We, the people, the totality of Americans. You got maybe, 200, 400, I forget how many are in Congress or whatever. I think it's like 100 in the Senate, 400 something in House of Representatives or something like that. But that, however many hundred versus the millions that is the masses, and we believe ourselves to be powerless, like, that makes no sense. That's the type of calculus that I'm talking about, where you have to sit back and be like, what the fuck, that doesn't really seem, it doesn't math. It just doesn't. There's more of us. There's not only that, we encompass a greater diversity of life experience and ability. So we have the means, we have, the numbers, we have the ability to organize locally and nationally in a way that they can't. We're much more connected to the realities of the situation. And yet we're looking at people in Washington who rather maintain the status quo, who rather receive checks from millionaire donors, who rather just stay in Congress and in Senate and not rock the boat, and who rather make decisions that really affect them but don't help us. And then have the nerve to get upset when we call them out, like, dude, what's your problem? I'm only your representative, your elected representative. Why are you coming down on me? And it's just like, really? These are the leaders that we're looking for. So, I mean, to wrap things up, what I'm trying to illustrate with those 3 points is that, like, we need to stop looking for these leaders. I'm sorry. We need to stop looking for that one man or woman who's going to lead us to the promised land. I know the Bible's full of stories about a Moses and a David and a King Solomon and even Jesus. But you know what? Jesus was like, yo, I'm just going to give you the keys to the kingdom. I'm going to give you the playbook. You guys got to do it yourself. And I'm increasingly believing that that is the case. It's part of the reason why I started this podcast. We got to stop depending on everybody in Washington. They're just not there for us. They're there for themselves. And they live in this bubble that is the Capitol Hill, where they all, schmooze and take money and buy stocks for themselves, and then pass bullshit legislation that helps really themselves and their friends, but not us. And we keep letting them do it. If anything is to come as a result of Trump's, tenure in office, and this is my sincere hope, I hope kind of that it does break the system, but not in the way that Trump wants it. I want it to break the system and for everybody to wake up, because I know everybody hates being woke, but like, yo, we need to wake the fuck up. It's time to wake up. We need to stop passively engaging in democracy and start actively engaging in democracy. All these critics of democracy as it is says you can't do nothing because of the people, and you need one strong leader who's authoritative, and we don't. Because you know what? We've spent 400 years living free, And I'll be damned if I'm going to let some dude who I do not even think is that intelligent, who hires nothing but clowns and sycophants and people who in real life, if you met them, you'd be like, I don't want to talk to this clown. This dude's whack. This dude is shady. This dude is condescending. This dude is not likable. You would never fuck with those type of people. And he's put that at all areas of government. They don't seem to care about what they're doing. You got all these appointments and all they're doing is cutting, administrations. And it's just like, well, then why do we have you? Why do we have a Linda McMahon over Department of Education if you guys don't want the department? Why do I need somebody who's a WWE owner to preside over education if you don't want education? You see what I'm saying? Why do we have RJK as the health secretary and he wants to get rid of anything that has to do with health? Why have that motherfucker? Why have Pete Hegseth? As Secretary of Defense, if he's just going to do shit the way he wants to do it and not follow the protocol and not represent us in our interests seriously. We don't need it. So that's what I'm saying. We need to stop looking at these leaders and saying like, that's who represents me. I think if Donald Trump breaks the system and we are able to retake our country and get it back on track, we got to be done with this. We need to take a real strong look at the executive branch, at the legislative branch, and the judicial branch, because these judges are failing us too. Obviously, it's not about the law. It's about how me and my buddies can like circumvent the law. That shit can't fly. If the laws are going to be enforced, they need to be enforced for everybody. And that's the fundamental problem with this administration. They don't want to follow the laws, but they want to make sure everybody else got laws. Fuck that. And we need to start telling these politicians no more. If we come out of this, if we're able to still retain our country, get rid of all of them. All of them. They'll have to prove they need to have their job. And more to the point, we as a people need to start seriously taking government seriously. Democracy is about rule by the people, then we need to all show the fuck up. That's just the way it needs to be. We need to stop counting on these people who we hold are luminaries, and they're not. They're fallible. Trump he's not God's gift to God. He's not. He just isn't. He's not that dude. I'm sorry. Does he have his strengths? Yeah, but he's not. He's bad at administration. He's bad at business. He's certainly bad at governing. He's just not a thoughtful person in a position where you need to be thoughtful. You need to move when you need to move with a certain type of nuance and skill and acumen. He doesn't espouse that. He looks bored. He looks like he just wants to get adulation. Why does he need to be at Mar-a-Lago every fucking weekend playing golf and winning tournaments? Why can't we just have our country winning? He says it's winning. Stock market's tanking. He says he's about free speech and we're winning. People getting shut down for protesting. We can't protest? Dude, half of New York is all about protests and people being angry at shit. We can't do that anymore. It just flies in the face of everything we're about. These politicians in Washington, the legislative, all the Republican Party, if it were up to me, done. They've shown that it is not about our interests. It's about what some all presiding president says. You're going to give up your power to a president for what? It's just yes men. If we got yes men, then we don't need you. That's redundancies. All this middle management politics, we don't need it. It needs to go. It has to go. And we need to stop looking at these people like they're the answer to our problems when we are the answer to our problems. We need to get out in our communities and we need to start cleaning shit up and stop waiting for somebody to give us the go ahead, because they're not waiting for us to tell them to go ahead. They're just doing the shit they want to do. So you know what? If that's the way it's got to be and it's every man for themselves, then we need to take care of ourselves and we need to take a stand and make sure that we have democracy and we have a country for generations to come. Because I'm not here to raise my kids up in a shithole. We're rapidly declining as a country. We're going first world to second world to third world. People are on guard because they're like, yo, America's wilding the fuck out. It shouldn't be that way. That's all I'm saying. So, if you take anything from this is I don't think we need any heroes. I think we need to believe in ourselves, the people. I think we need to galvanize, and I think we need to come together and really start asking ourselves these tough questions and seeing what we could do, because we control all the cards. Trump likes to talk about you all saw the cards. We hold all the cards, you know, because we are the people. This is our country, not some elected representatives, not the president. He's just some dude we put there. And if he's not doing what we want, then you know what? We don't need to do what they want. They want us to work? Fuck that. Okay? We shut this bitch down real quickly. If we all decided not to take part in this, oh, they have something to say real quickly. So that's episode 3. I got a little heated there, but you know, I care. And when you see something that you care about being hurt, it hits you a certain way. And I may not have been the most active politically and with social issues in my past when I should have, and I deeply regret that. But now's not the time to sit back and just pretend everything is okay. The house is burning. We need to start grabbing buckets of water and dousing the flames ourselves. So hope you like this episode, and I'll see you again for the next one. Later.